Okay, but the way we'll handle the questions, Ms. Thigpen, you'll answer the first question first, and Ralph, you'll be last. Excuse me, Mr. Hodge. Then the second question, Mr. Hodge will be first, Ms. Thigpen, you'll be next, and then we'll reverse it for the third one. The first question: what will you do to bring transparency to the financial dealings of the city of Bessemer?
Back in 2002, the U.S. legislature enacted the Sarbanes-Oxley bill that protects the investors of publicly traded companies. And they're guaranteed the right that they will be audited and that their investments will be safe. And I think at the same time, we need some guarantees in our government to know that our tax dollars, which we don't have a choice in being invested in, that we have financial transparency. I think with the technology and software that we have available to us today, that there's not any reason in the world that we shouldn't have financial statements and budgets up to date, that we can push a button and know on a monthly, weekly, or even a daily basis. I believe that it's going to take all the departments working together, and each department will have to put in their information themselves instead of sending it down to City Hall and everything be handled. The information's only going to be as good as the data that they put in, but I've spoken to other financial directors in other cities, and this works well for them, and I believe that as a city that we have that right, and we need to see that. And I'll work with our city council and our mayor and our finance director to ensure that we have all the resources available to us to implement this change.
Thank you. Mr. Hodge, I'll read the question again. What will you do to bring transparency to the financial dealings of the city of Bessemer?
Well, what I would like to see is some resolutions passed at the city council. You know, for the past few years, we've had a lot of money that's not been accountable for. We need to have everyone to be accountable for every position within the city. The council should be accountable for their part that they play in it. The mayor should be accountable for the part that he plays in it. As a council person, I would be responsible for the part that I play in it. I also think that when we have our budget, those line items that we do on our budgets, they should go to each department, and those departments should make sure that what they need is exactly what they need to fulfill the obligations that they have within their department. While working for the city, I maintained the budget for the street department over in the traffic department. I had to fill out a budget for the police departments where we carried out the red lights and made sure that they worked properly. Also, I had a budget within the street department where I also carried out a budget to we used gas tax to buy the streets, signs, the striping, and the markings for the city. Therefore, I was accountable for all the money that I spent, and everyone that's in the office should be accountable for the money that they spend. Thank you.
Okay. Next question. Mr. Hodge, you'll answer this question first. Since 2007, the current mayor and most of the city councilors have refused to pay the school system its portion of the 1% levied sales tax levied in 1987, as well as other property and ad valorem taxes. If elected, what would be your approach regarding the school system getting its fair share of due taxes from 2007 to present and in the future?
Well, that's one of the questions that I answer a lot of the time because I was on the school board for the 4 years that I was on the school board. and he started getting behind right there at the end of my service on the school board. What I asked the other day, I talked to Lawrence McAdor, and I also talked to Priscilla Dunn. I would like them to pass some legislation, and I'm going to talk about two different parts. I'm not going to talk about the 40% of the 1% sales tax that they owe us $6 million for, but I also am going to talk about the ad valorem taxes, which you pay at the end of the year. You pay this money, and it goes to the Birmingham. When it gets to Birmingham, instead of coming back to the school system, they send it back to City Hall. City Hall is not sending it back to the school system. Therefore, we're about $2.6 million on the ad valorem taxes that's put in there. I asked Lawrence McAdor, and last year I talked to Priscilla Dunn when she was in Lawrence's position, and I also talked to Dr. Horn before she left. I wanted them to pass some legislation where the money would not go to the city of Bessemer city clerk. It would go straight from the Birmingham straight to the school system, and the money would, that way it would bypass the city and go straight into it. Now the 40% of the 1%, you know, they got behind on it and they never did catch up on it. I think that we owe the school system the money. The money should be paid, and therefore if I get elected, I'm going to do everything within my power to make sure that the school gets their money. Thank you.
Ms. Thigpen, I'll read the question again. It's a lengthy one. Since 2007, the current mayor and most of the city councilors have refused to pay the school system its portion of the 1% sales tax levied in 1987, as well as other property and ad valorem taxes. If elected, what would be your approach regarding the school system getting its fair share of due taxes from 2007 to the future, to the present, and in the future?
First of all, I think we need to get out of the us versus them mentality and work toward a we attitude. The city owes the school board the money. There's no doubt about that. But because they're suing. We've got one city department and one group suing another city department. And the only ones that's accomplishing anything or getting anything out of this is the loggers. But I believe that the $3 million is due the school board. But looking over the financial statements, I can't say where it is or what it's being spent on right now. I do know that the school board is in very good shape financially. And in the state of Alabama, they are recognized as one of the top schools when it comes to the reserves that they have in the bank. Let's say the school board has a $7 million surplus, and the city of Bessemer is struggling to keep its employees. Do we really want to cut services and cut employees for the sake of giving $3 million to the school board and increasing their surplus to $10 million? I think it's important to keep these jobs right now. You know, it's not the time probably to turn over the money if we're struggling. I believe if the shoe were on the other foot, that the school board would be coming to the city and asking for money. So I believe at this time we should cooperate with each other and look at the overall financial situation that we have and use the money more effectively.